In a landmark decision that will be studied for years to come, the Supreme Court has struck down the Section 232 tariffs imposed during the Trump administration, unraveling a key pillar of the America First trade policy and sending shockwaves through the political and economic landscape. The 6-3 ruling brings an end to years of heated debate over tariffs on steel, aluminum, and Chinese goods, policies that not only reshaped global supply chains, but also divided the nation along political and economic lines. The impact was immediate and dramatic. Financial markets surged, importers and manufacturers across the country cheered the decision, while unions and domestic producers voiced deep concern, fearing for the future of American industry and the livelihoods of their workers. For factory workers, tech entrepreneurs, farmers, and everyday consumers, the ruling signals a dramatic shift in economic policy, one that could affect jobs, prices, and the very fabric of American industry. The court's decision isn't just a legal ruling, it's a powerful statement on the balance of power between Congress and the president in shaping the nation's trade agenda, raising questions about who truly controls America's economic destiny. Supporters of the decision see lower costs for businesses and families, and the promise of renewed global relationships that could open new markets and opportunities. But critics warn of job losses, factory closures, and a flood of cheap imports that could threaten American manufacturing and the communities that depend on it. The White House now faces the daunting challenge of navigating a new and uncertain trade landscape, balancing the interests of workers, industries, and consumers, while also responding to political pressures at home and abroad. The legal battle may be over, but the economic and political fallout is just beginning to unfold, with consequences that will ripple through every corner of the country. This is more than a simple policy reversal. It's a turning point for American trade, a moment that will define the next chapter of our economic story. Over the next hour, we'll break down what this historic decision means for you, for the country, and for the world. We'll explore the history behind the tariffs, analyze the immediate and long-term impact, and look ahead to what comes next for American workers, businesses, and families as the nation adapts to a new era in global trade. The story of post-tariff America is just beginning, and its outcome will shape our future for generations to come. To fully grasp today's complex news landscape, we need to delve into the concept of tariffs. Tariffs are essentially taxes on imported goods. They are designed to make foreign products more expensive, thereby protecting domestic industries by encouraging consumers to buy local. The United States has utilized tariffs for centuries as a tool of economic policy. However, the Trump administration dramatically revived their use in 2018, citing national security concerns as a primary justification. Section 232 tariffs specifically targeted steel and aluminum imports with steep taxes. This move soon expanded into a broader trade war, particularly with China, affecting global trade dynamics. Tariffs were imposed on hundreds of billions of dollars in Chinese goods. The aim was to counter what were seen as unfair trade practices and intellectual property theft by China. The result? Retaliation from China, the European Union, Canada, and Mexico. This hurt U.S. farmers significantly and disrupted global supply chains, leading to economic uncertainty. Some companies chose to move production overseas to avoid tariffs. Others passed the increased costs onto consumers, affecting prices on everyday goods. The economy became a patchwork of winners and losers, with uncertainty becoming the new normal. Businesses faced challenges in planning for the future. Supporters of the tariffs claimed they protected American jobs and helped revive industries like steel, which had been struggling for years. Critics, however, argued that tariffs hurt consumers by raising prices, alienated international allies, and overstepped presidential power, sparking intense debate. The debate over executive authority, specifically how much power the president should wield in trade matters, ultimately landed before the Supreme Court. The Trump-era tariffs were more than just economic policy. They became a significant test of constitutional limits and presidential authority. Today's ruling provides an answer to that constitutional test, shaping the future of trade policy. The era of sweeping tariffs as we knew it is over, marking a new chapter in trade relations. But the questions they raised about trade policy and presidential power remain, leaving much to ponder for the future. The Supreme Court's decision in American Institute for International Steel v. United States centers on presidential power in trade. The majority, led by Chief Justice Roberts, ruled that Section 232 gave the president too much unchecked authority, power that belongs to Congress. The court emphasized, Congress controls trade and taxation, not the executive branch. Dissenters argued the president was acting within the law as written, and that Congress, not the courts, should change it if needed. The ruling sets a precedent, reasserting congressional authority and requiring tariffs to be wound down within 90 days. Section 301 tariffs on China remain, so the US-China trade conflict is far from resolved. The decision redraws the boundaries of trade power in Washington. Washington's response was swift and divided. Democrats and free trade Republicans praised the ruling as a check on executive overreach and a win for consumers. Tariff supporters, including some Republicans and unions, condemned it as a threat to American jobs and security. The White House struck a cautious tone, promising to protect workers while respecting the court's authority. On Wall Street, stocks soared, especially for manufacturers and automakers. While domestic steel and aluminum producers saw shares plunge, investors anticipate lower costs and less inflation, but industry leaders warn of layoffs and renewed foreign competition. Congress is now under pressure to craft new trade laws that balance protection and openness. The economic landscape is shifting, and the political debate is just heating up. The stakes for American industry and workers couldn't be higher. For American businesses, the end of Section 232 tariffs is a game changer. Auto and construction industries expect lower material costs, potentially spurring investment and making U.S. products more competitive. Domestic steel and aluminum producers, once shielded, now face tough global competition and possible job cuts. Small businesses, from machine shops to craft breweries, could benefit from cheaper inputs, boosting growth and margins. Yet, uncertainty lingers. Tariffs on Chinese goods remain, complicating supply chains for many companies. The ruling simplifies some trade puzzles but leaves others unsolved. Businesses must adapt quickly to a new, unpredictable global market. The winners and losers of this new era are still emerging. Globally, America's allies, Canada, Mexico, and the EU, welcomed the ruling, seeing it as a chance to reset strained trade ties. Retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods may soon be lifted, benefiting American exporters. China's response was measured. The ruling doesn't affect the broader tariffs targeting Chinese goods, so core disputes remain. The decision is seen as a win for the rules-based international trading system and the World Trade Organization. Global investors hope for less trade friction and more stability. Yet the world is watching America's next move, wary of future protectionism. The ruling closes one chapter but leaves the global debate over free trade and national interest unresolved. Allies are hopeful but cautious, knowing U.S. policy can shift quickly. The world wants consistency from its largest economic partner. America's next steps will shape global trade for years to come. For American workers, the ruling brings both hope and anxiety. Steel and aluminum workers fear job losses as protection fades, while those in auto, construction, and manufacturing may benefit from lower costs and more demand. The end of tariffs could mean lower prices for consumers, a potential pay raise for millions. But the economic trade-off is real. Some jobs may vanish, others may grow. The long-term impact depends on how policymakers manage the transition and support displaced workers. Will cost savings translate into new jobs and higher wages? The challenge is to ensure the benefits of free trade are shared broadly. The future for American workers is still being written. To gain a deeper understanding of the long-term impact of recent trade decisions, we turn to Dr. Evelyn Reed, a respected professor of international trade policy at Georgetown University. With years of experience advising policymakers and studying global markets, Dr. Reed offers a unique perspective on the shifting landscape of U.S. trade. Dr. Reed describes the recent ruling as a pivotal turning point, one that effectively shifts the center of the trade debate back to Congress, where critical decisions about the nation's economic future will now be made. She explains that while tariffs provided a short-term boost to domestic metal producers, they ultimately hurt a much larger group of American manufacturers. These measures also triggered damaging retaliation from trading partners, disrupting supply chains, and increasing costs for businesses across the country. The net effect, Dr. Reed argues, was negative for the U.S. economy as a whole, leading to job losses, factory closures, and greater uncertainty for workers and businesses alike. Dr. Reed cautions that this moment does not signal a simple return to the old status quo. Today's global supply chains are more fragile than ever, and national security concerns now play a central role in shaping trade policy decisions. Looking ahead, she predicts a shift toward more targeted and strategic trade policies, with a greater emphasis on collaboration with key allies to strengthen economic resilience and address shared security challenges. The ideal path forward, Dr. Reed says, involves passing new legislation that provides modern tools for fair trade, sets clear limits on executive power, and offers robust support for workers and communities affected by global economic shifts. Programs like trade adjustment assistance, along with strong congressional oversight, are essential for building a durable, bipartisan consensus on trade that can withstand future challenges. Ultimately, Dr. Reed concludes, the future of U.S. trade policy must strike a careful balance between competitiveness, national security, and fairness for American workers and businesses. With the nation watching closely, Congress now has a rare and historic opportunity to get it right and shape a stronger, more equitable future for all Americans. The Supreme Court's decision ends one era and begins another. Businesses must quickly adapt, and the White House faces a critical 90-day transition. The debate over America's role in global trade is back in Congress, where new laws and strategies will be forged. Policymakers must balance protection, competitiveness, and global cooperation. The choices made now will shape jobs, prices, and the economy for years. This is a pivotal moment, one that demands thoughtful leadership and public engagement. Stay informed, join the conversation, and watch as the next chapter in American trade policy unfolds. The story is far from over,